I'm about to take you through the platform, but before I do that, just know that it's going to sound odd. It's going to seem like I'm trying to put you off, which is actually very true. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. If you found cryptowizards.net and you have some expectation that you're going to get wealthy quickly using the opportunity shown here, just click away. This is really not for you. You're wasting your time and you're going to be very, very disappointed. So don't sign up. For those of you who are real traders, are hunters, you know what you're doing, you understand the edge that this platform provides. You've been emailing, asking for the tools here. You've been giving me ideas about what you want in the tools, etc. And now we're at this version 3.0 launch. I know a lot of you are extraordinarily excited about this. And I know it took me a long time to get it up, but I wanted to make sure that number one, we brought the cost right down and stopped paying all these data providers tons of money, which ultimately was costing you and me a lot of money, and just brought that cost down and focused just in the narrow area of what actually works. And I'm about to take you through that, which is pretty cool. I think the first tool we'll start with is Smart Scan. And the reason for this is when we talk about arbitrage, so there's a lot of tools here, some arbitrage, some not. But when we talk about arbitrage in crypto, I believe that this is the best tool in the marketplace for it. And it's not just me who said that. You can see reviews in the comments for this as well on the site. But the reason for it is this is all based on Ethereum. These are all Ethereum-based tokens, so you know what you're transferring, you know what you're buying, you know what it's being transferred on, etc. And it's really happening between two exchanges, sometimes three. It's looking at three exchanges, but the trade is always happening between two of those three exchanges, which is really, really cool. One of them is a DeFi exchange, so decentralized finance type of exchange. It relies on smart contracts for the order book, etc. And there are often arbitrage opportunities that happen with this exchange, which is really, really cool. Now, you'll notice on the screen right now, you can see one here for a ridiculous percentage, 463%. There's going to be something not right with that coin, I would say. Anything which is above, 20%, I'd be very skeptical of. And anything between 1 and 5% is usually legit. That's my experience. Now, there's a key down here as well that you can see that'll tell you whether something is strong or weak or it's loss-making. And you might wonder, well, why would we show a loss-making coin? Well, sometimes the surface rate of an arbitrage opportunity, and a lot of you will know this, but there's the surface rate and there's the real rate. These are two terms we've coined at Crypto Wizards. But a surface rate is when you look at buying something here at shop A and selling it here at shop B, the surface rate is the price tag on top. But as you know, when it comes to trading and buying into an order book, you have different levels. So you're not just getting that next best price, you're actually eating into that price. And that sort of erodes your margin. You can think of it that way. So what this does is it actually trades one Ethereum, it pretend trades one Ethereum to see, is there enough depth on both order books? And this is what saves people a lot of time. This is why people like this tool, because not only does it do that, but it does it extraordinarily efficiently. And this saves people time because they don't have to, when they go and they check the trade, which you should always do, they don't have to then waste their time filtering trades that are just never going to be profitable. They're only looking at the ones here that are showing actual returns. For example, this one, 1.4%. Now, one of the things you need to bear in mind is none of the arbitrage tools will take into account exchange fees, or none of the ones that I use anyway, because we're using different exchanges and the complexity outweighed the cost. So that's just something that you need to bear in mind. Let's look at TriScan. So TriScan is another very cool tool. And essentially what TriScan is doing is, and I'm going to zoom out a bit here so you can see what's going on. TriScan is doing the same thing as SmartScan, but it's not just doing Ethereum. It's looking at three major exchanges and it's looking at triangular arbitrage. Now, there were two people in particular from the Crypto Wizards YouTube channel who really asked for this. And one person I actually built this specifically for in version 2.0, but I built it using expensive data. And I actually find it wasn't as fast and as reliable as what I've managed to pipe in directly to the exchanges now. So this is really, really cool because these are real-time opportunities. So they happen, every 30 seconds to 60 seconds, or let's call it every minute of the day, you're essentially getting an update of these arbitrage opportunities. And it's also got these really cool indicators here. So you can see here, it's saying there's a 14, or there was at this time in UTC, there was a 14% opportunity, and actually it's loss making. So it gives you the surface rate, but it also gives you the real rate. Now, I'm going to speculate a bit here because I don't always know how the experienced traders who ask for these tools use them. And I've been speculating on this one, and I thought, the reason I'm going to build it is because I know people find it useful. They've actually asked for it. And I think what people are doing is they're setting up the 3 separate exchanges, and they're looking at whenever there's an opportunity, they're looking to see, oh, okay, so actually this exchange is where the gap is. And rather than going through all the trades from these other exchanges, they're just say buying this coin here and closing that gap before the arbitrage traders can even come in. And I thought that's pretty clever. That would be pretty smart. And I wanted to keep the tool here because I thought that would be, again, it provides people with a real edge. It's better than looking at Fibonacci, right? One of the other things I wanted to show on these 2 tools is we have an alert system now. So for example, I can put in an alert of 0.01 and I'm going to hit set alert. And what it's going to do is it's going to scan the market, every minute for me, as long as I have this window open. And I can be, other places on the internet, I can be doing other things, or I could be doing my work or whatever. And it's actually going to play a sound. And if for whatever reason your browser doesn't play sounds, there's instructions here, etc., of how to make sure it plays that sound. The reason why I've set a small opportunity is because I actually want an opportunity to pop up now for you once I've set this. So there you go. It has actually just popped up an opportunity. Of course it would, because I put some ridiculously low percentage gain in here. So I'm actually going to cancel that alert. But I could make this percentage 5%. Now, a lot of you are going to notice that there are 2 new tools here around stock options. And I'm very, very, very excited about this analysis because I've been able to take my experience in algorithmic trading. I've been able to take my experience in building options, pricing models, etc., and filtering stocks, etc., and combining all of that knowledge into a strategy where I actually feel like I've broken the stock market. It just feels that exciting and it feels that cool. I don't want to overhype it. Again, just remember that if you feel like there's going to be complete financial freedom on this platform, then you've come to the wrong place. Don't sign up. But that said, this in particular is a real area of focus of mine. And I've got a bigger project going on in crypto right now as well, which I'm looking forward to bringing to the platform. But the stock options piece, I think, is one that we really can't overlook because mathematically, I feel like I found an edge here, and I'm looking forward to taking you through that now. So one of the first tools, and you can see the tools down the left-hand pane, is this options exponential. And this is based on, you don't need to worry too much about what it's doing here because I'm going to talk about the details of what it's doing on YouTube. But essentially, what this is doing over here is looking at the spread of how far the price is moving away from its averages over time, but it's looking at it from a different perspective. It's looking at what's happening exponentially and what happens typically when that happens with a stock. Now, a lot of that might not make sense, but to boil it down into simplistic terms, I've found through back testing since 2015 on stocks that when you look at where the price will land from 10 days from when a signal like this happens, 20 days, 30 days, and 50 days from when a signal like this happens, that you have a percentage edge compared to what option pricing models use, which is really, really, really cool because even if you didn't, you can have an edge trading options anyway. Even with no directional bias whatsoever, you can be profitable with options. And we're going to talk a lot about that. But what happens if you can find a directional bias in terms of how many standard deviations away from the current price this stock will likely be versus what is priced into the model? It's a bit like an arbitrage opportunity. You can think of it that way. Now, for example, I'm going to pick, I don't know, any one of these over here. So I'm going to pick this company, I don't know, for whatever reason. I don't expect you to understand what's going on here right now in any level of detail, but I wanted to just give you some kind of feel for what I'm working on and the type of analysis. And I've done the same thing with stocks that have high compression. So high compression, this is something I learned from somebody on YouTube. I actually forgotten their name now, which is shocking, but I'll mention them when I do the YouTube videos. And I noticed that listening to them, when prices converge and squash together for a period of time, that there are also statistical events that happen in your favor. And essentially this is doing the same thing, but with compressed options. Now, if we think about the options that are more explosive, typically they're going to have a higher volatility. When there's a high volatility, that can really put an edge in an option trader's favor. With these ones over here, typically they're going to have a lower volatility. Typically, depends on what's happened and what the context is of the event. But it's essentially the opposite way of looking at this. And it's, again, a very, very interesting and useful tool and something that I'm excited by. Now, to put people off, because I need to make sure I'm doing that as well, you got to bear in mind that this is looking at about 500 popular stocks which trade options. And some of their spreads in terms of the bid and the ask are rubbish. You're not going to, even if the opportunity was perfect and it had a high degree of certainty, the spread might negate that percentage arbitrage, you can think of it as, that percentage gain, and therefore you wouldn't trade it. So you need to bear that in mind as well. Like, you need to do your homework with these. But again, a tool like this doesn't exist anywhere. It doesn't exist in the marketplace, and it's very, very cool, and it's something I'm very excited by. So this is where I've essentially selected one of the stock profiles. So there's a tool here that will show you things like the short ratio. This is how many more people are buying put options, i.e. betting that the stock is going to go down, versus people that are buying call options, betting that it's going to go up. But one of the things that I love the most about this type of analysis here is it actually gives a histogram of the returns. And an options pricing model typically is going to price in a normal distribution of returns. Typically, that's what's going to happen. So if you see that the returns are skewed or not really happening in line with how the options pricing models are working for that stock, again, the actual behavior of the stock is different to what's being priced into the market. And really with these options tools, what we're doing is we're trading behavior. We're speculating on a change in behavior. So another cool thing is we have a chart down here which gives you some context of what's going on in the market. And, you know, I can hit 3 months and I can scroll along and do whatever. This is not a super advanced charting package. It really is not. Like, there are so many websites that have really good, like TradingView, you know, really good advanced charting. I'm not really interested so much in the charting. I'm interested in getting an edge. There are 95% of traders who lose money that rely on technical analysis on charts. I'm more interested in what's the context and what's been happening with the price. You'll notice that there's no indicators on here or anything because I really don't care. If you understand options or you've had any exposure to options, you're going to love this, because I couldn't find what I wanted online for options chains anywhere. And so I decided to pay for some data and to get options chain information which is actually useful. And not only that, build algorithms on top of that options chain to do a lot of analysis for me. For example, this probability in the money for this stock, and take this with a pinch of salt because today is actually a bank holiday and you should only use this tool during US trading times, or at least this options chain. You should only use this during US trading times. But this is telling me that, you know, I've got the stock that last closed at $2.66. And it has a 60.57% probability that it will be above $2 by this expiration date of the 15th of Jan. It's actually telling me that here. Now, if you don't have that and, you know, you're using a broker platform like I do, like Interactive Brokers, where you have Delta will be a good approximation for probability in the money. But this is something that's really cool. And for people like me who can't use Thinkorswim, which is a great platform for options trading because I'm not in the US, then again, this is very handy. Now, when I'm looking at this versus Interactive Brokers, if the delta on Interactive Brokers is very different to this, I will go with the delta on Interactive Brokers. Otherwise, I would rely on this because this is actually using the correct calculation for calculating probability in the money. Or at least I believe it is. That's why I spent days building it in. I find it very, very useful. Up here, you can see the put-call ratio for this expiry. 21 times more puts being bought than calls for this expiry. But if I look at these other expiries, by the way, this is something that you're going to find really interesting. I'm looking at the volume traded. You can see that there's a lot more calls than puts. Puts are blue, calls are orange. And I can see this by expiry. Now, here's the cool thing. And by the way, You can change this for Tesla, you can change it for Apple, you can put in whatever stock ticker you want in here, and it will give you the options chain and these charts for it. Again, you want to do this during US trading hours, but it's still very, very interesting. If I look at the open interest, this tells me how many call open contracts are there by expiry. I can see overall across all expiries, there are way more call option contracts open than put ones, which is really interesting. Now up here we have a volatility smile, which is cool because it tells me at what strike price, what is the implied volatility, and it graphs that for me. And I can look at this for different expirations. Again, we won't go into the details on this video, but again, something very useful to be aware of. And here I can see what the implied volatility is on average across these contracts, or at the money across all of the expiration contracts. And I can see that right now the shorter term has a much higher implied volatility than the longer term contract. So this tells me a lot about the stock, about what's being priced in, how a trader is speculating, what is the probability of it hitting a certain price based on efficient markets. And another cool thing is I can select these expiries and I can just hit the up arrow or down arrow and filter through the options chains really quickly. I can also decide whether or not I want to see anything. How many standard deviations away from the at the money do I want to see? I can select that, and that's very useful. Like for example, if I've got a stock like Apple, AAPL, and it's got this huge options chain, what's very helpful with this is that I can just narrow that chain down nearer to at the money prices. So very exciting stuff. Now let's hop over to the downloads page over here. So I'm going to just go to downloads to show you any Excel tools that I share on Crypto Wizards that people ask for. I will put them here on the download tabs. All you have to do is click on the tool and this window will pop up and you download that Excel tool and you've got it, you can use it. And so we've got the options pricing model here, which I find really interesting when I'm trying to play with strategies and see what could work, how could I gain an edge. And we've got a few other calculation tools here in terms of calculating order book depth, which these tools do for you in the background. But also here one for the sports arbitrage video, which I think people really enjoyed on Crypto Wizards. So that's pretty fun. And then in terms of your profile, when you sign up to Crypto Wizards, when you click on your email up here, you can either contact, log out, or go to your profile. If you select my profile, you'll come through to this page. Now my son's favorite thing about this whole platform is this night mode. So here's where you can just change everything to dark mode if you want to. And it's pretty cool, but here you will see all your subscription details. If you want to cancel, just hit cancel subscription and then yes, cancel my subscription and you're done. You've canceled, you've opted out, and your plan will keep running until what you've paid for ends and you can exit. Now I'm not going to hit that because I literally have paid for Crypto Wizards. I have paid for my own platform and I am a member and I don't want to cancel my subscription. So I'm just going to hit no, let me stay. But this is how you can access your profile and cancel, etc. And it's all very straightforward. Up here, if you want to search any stocks as well, let's say I want to search Apple, I can use the search bar at the top to search any kind of stock. And now you can see I've got the returns profile for Apple, and I can check out what's been going on with Apple's price. I can look at their short ratio here. So right now there are more calls being bought than puts for Apple. I don't have to go into the options chain to see that. And I've got a whole bunch of other metrics here as well, which I will talk about on the YouTube channel because these are also very, very interesting. And if you want to know more about them, you could Google kurtosis and read about it, and you're going to see the kind of value that this is spitting out right here. Anyhow, that is the demonstration of the platform. Again, the whole point of Crypto Wizards is to bring an edge to retail traders. It's to provide things at a price that's actually affordable for retail traders. Crypto Wizards used to be $97 a month. And right now today, I'm just going to go back to the homepage for Crypto Wizards. If I go to the pricing tab, you'll see that Crypto Wizards is now at $27 a month, which, a lot of people might wonder, well, am I getting the same value? And my answer is you're actually getting more value. Crypto Wizards was shut down. People were refunded and pushed out of Crypto Wizards. Not to be rude, but that's what happened. Because I wanted to really up the game of this platform, and I wanted to just focus for 6 months on development, which is essentially what happened. I spent the first few months hypothesizing, how can I solve a lot of problems? How can I bring the cost down? And how can I make the platform better? Actually, for me, more for me than anything, so that I can have a way of logging all the analysis that I'm coming up with that's finding an edge in the market, and put it into this web application, into this platform. And what that meant was not paying data providers so much money as well. So an example of this is if I go to CoinMarketCap's API, you'll notice if you go to the pricing, what it costs to get data. You know, the minimum, the hobbyist is $29 a month. Now for doing arbitrage the way we do it, there's no way that's going to cut it. You know, I was using this kind of capacity. And, you know, in fact, for Crypto Wizards before, I was paying a lot of money, hundreds of dollars for data. Actually, again, I wasn't using CoinMarketCaps. There was another data provider that I was using, but it was very, very, very expensive to do. And when I looked at the benefit of what all of that data was giving me, like tangibly in your pocket, how much money was it helping you make? I figured out that I can actually try and get some of this data for free in places, not everywhere. I'm still paying for some data, but you can see what data costs. And so I really wanted to solve that problem. I've managed to solve that problem. And that's really helped to dramatically bring down the price of Crypto Wizards. Now, will I put the price of Crypto Wizards up? Absolutely. So I'm definitely going to be raising the price on this as more people use the platform, because I have to pay a lot more for the hosting. Crypto Wizards, as you can see, there's a lot of engines being used. So when people run a web page that actually costs money, it uses up processing power on the hosting, etc. And so depending on how many people sign up, like right now I'm trying to keep it small, but if a lot of people are signing up at such a low price point, then I'm going to need to increase the price to make sure that, you know, that works, and that we can, you know, tick up the power of the hosting as well, so that things don't go slow. So definitely, but I hope you enjoyed that tour. I mean, this is something that people have been asking, when are you launching the platform? My friends will say, how's the platform going up? I've been talking about this for months, you know, and I've been sort of off the radar, as a lot of you know, but now this is up, and it feels great. It feels great for me to be able to share this with you. Again, if you're looking for something that's going to revolutionize your life and set you financially free, this is not for you. Do not sign up. You're going to be really disappointed. But if you're really interested in the kind of stuff we're covering here, and you want to be a part of the action, and you want to be like a market wizard, which is really where the name Crypto Wizards came from, we are the new market wizards. And, you know, we are finding real edges here. The Smart Scan was, you know, a very good example of that too. So enjoy it, and welcome to Crypto Wizards. Talk soon.